Welcome, 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 welcome. Welcome to another triumphant Tuesday, I'm sorry. Tuesday. Super excited to be with you guys on tonight. We will have one of my favorite therapists. So, I got a couple. Dr. Nickeda Shelton, and she will be we'll be setting our intentions for a holiday and how we won't get to the place of feeling overwhelmed and how we'll get to the place of setting our intentions and operating in a place of love, hope, and abundance. So, as I bring them on the screen, if you can get in the comments, if you're watching this live, say hello. If you're watching us by replay, say hello as well. And we will bring all of our fantastic hosts and guests up. I am the founder, Andrea Perry, your purpose pusher, pushing you into purpose with prayer and affirmation. And we're going to bring up Miss Fabiana and Kawana and Dr. Nickeda Shelton, and they'll introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Kawana Valet, and I am here in the state of Mississippi by way of Louisiana. And I am excited to be here on tonight. I'm a child of God. I am in marketplace ministry. I own a small business, Southern Girl Sweets. And again, like I said, I'm in corporate America. And I'm just excited to talk about the holidays and what our intentions, just setting the stage for an awesome holiday season.
I am Fabiana Anderson, Ministry of Woman of God's Business. I have been in caregiving, nanny services over 30 years. I love to sing, I write gospel songs, just a woman that loves God and loves doing the things of God. So I'm happy to be here on tonight to discuss this great, awesome topic that we've been discussing for the whole month of November. And may you get something out of this so we can start the healing process for the new year.
All right. Dr. Shelton?
My name is Nickeda Shelton, and I'm a licensed professional counselor for more than 20 years. I'm currently at a community college, but I also sometimes practice in a private fashion pro bono. I also own Nikki Street Boutique, which is currently on hiatus right now. But I also have a podcast called My Purpose Journey, and I'm getting ready to start back writing my blog as well, and it's called My Purpose Journey. And basically, I'm a therapist, but I'm a believer first.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. Like
Amen.
I said, I am super excited to have Dr. Shelton on with me. I remember when I started this journey, going live, and I had to have her every Wednesday. I told her I'm doing this selfishly to have some time to speak to her, some time to even allow my audience to just glean from her wisdom and her real life experiences. One thing that I know, whenever I called on her, she sometimes it seemed like she was going through like exactly what we were talking about, a lot of times, and then sometimes it seemed like it was just like right in the time where she was either coming out or it was a lot of times I would say that she had real life experiences, and she also had the knowledge and the wisdom of God behind what she would say. So as we kick off this conversation, we're talking about how to overcome being overwhelmed. How do we get out of the place of overwhelmed and into the place of abundance and peace? I do kind of want to start off with a question to you, Dr. Nickeda. Like I was telling you, um, what for you, what have you done to come out of being overwhelmed?
You know, that word overwhelmed, it has a big meaning. And I've done multiple things over the years. I will be the first one to tell people that COVID overwhelmed me. And not probably in the sense that most people think, but in the sense where there was so much loss from COVID, but not only that, there was loss of activity, loss of connection, just it was just loss all around. And so what I have learned to do when I am feeling overwhelmed, because I told y'all a minute ago, I'm a Christian first, I'm a believer first, and then I'm a therapist. But what my current season of loss and being overwhelmed has taught me is that when I feel that way, that my first mode of action is to lean into my core. And your core is what you value, what you believe, what you rest your life on. And so when I say I'm leaning into my core, I'm leaning into my Christianity, I'm leaning into the promises of God. And so I will step away and I'll just spend time with God. And I lean into those promises. I give him back the word that he gave to us. And a lot of times as Christians, we don't do that. But in a therapeutic standpoint, the other thing that I do is sometimes when you feel overwhelmed, you need to step away. You need to step away and assess. You need to assess what's going on in your life. You need to assess what's driving or what's pushing this feeling of overwhelmness. And then once you identify that, then you can start to address what those things are or what that thing is that's pushing that. But the first thing that I always recommend to people, especially if you're a Christian, is to lean into your core. A lot of times as Christians, we don't do that. We go just the opposite. We go in the opposite direction when we should be leaning into God and leaning into his promises first. And then going back from, like I said, from a therapeutic standpoint, looking at how you got here, what journey led you to the place of feeling so overwhelmed, and then identifying those areas and then begin to address them.
That's
That's
good.
good.
That's
Mhm.
good. I got lean in to your core. Step away,
Mhm.
assess what's going on, identify what has you feeling overwhelmed. Okay.
Because a lot of times, Andrea, we will continuously feel that way, but
Hmm.
we won't assess what journey brought us to this place. You
Hmm.
need to know how you got there.
Right.
And then once you figure out what it is, then you can address it. Whether it's you're doing too much for too many people, that's normally my thing,
Hmm.
or you've experienced so much grief and you've been stuffing it instead of dealing with it, that will make you feel overwhelmed.
Hmm.
Or you're in activities that no longer serve you, or you
Mhm.
no longer feel connected to, but you're still doing it. Those things bring about anxiety, and those things bring about that feeling of being overwhelmed. So you have to go back and reassess, how did I get here? It didn't take a day, it didn't take a month, but you got there on a journey. And then once you figure out how you got there, then what do you want to do about it?
Hmm. So what do you do? When you figure out, okay, this is how I got here. This is what happened. I'm leaning into my core. I'm leaning into what God is saying. I'm actually going into prayer. Then what is your next step?
My next step is looking at exactly what the situation is. For instance, sometimes we can feel overwhelmed because we haven't found our people. And
Mm-hmm.
what I mean by that, you haven't found those people that you're meant to be connected with in life. Our life is like a puzzle piece. We are a piece of the puzzle. And sometimes we are trying to connect with people that we are not meant to connect with. And because we are trying to force that, that makes us feel overwhelmed. So we have to really take a look at that and say, is this circle for me?
Wow.
Is this job for me?
Wow.
We have to take an honest look at where we are in our lives. And sometimes If it's a situation, sometimes we're in a situation a whole lot longer than what we need to be in it. We need to look at, is it still serving me? Is it still serving the purpose that I was intended to do here? If it doesn't, then it's time to pull back. It's time to reassess. It's time to take a different avenue. But we have to learn to truly assess where we are. We have to be honest about who we are. We have to be honest about what we want and what we think we deserve in this life. Because when we're not, those needs are not being met, we feel overwhelmed because we
Yeah.
tend to be putting in more in those places and not getting anything back in return. So we're not filling our cup. We're filling the cups of others by doing several other things, but because we are the piece that doesn't fit, or we're in a puzzle, everybody else's piece fit, but our piece doesn't fit, and we
Mm,
keep trying to make our piece fit. But we have
mm,
to be honest enough to say, you know what, I've tried this, it doesn't work. It is time for me to back up, step away from this, and see what it is God really has for me out there. So that's what I do.
mm.
That's
Wow.
what I do. And when things have run its course, that's the other part. A lot of times we're in situations they've run their course, and we're overwhelmed because we can't figure out why it no longer feels the way that it did, or
Mhm,
why it no longer works the way that it did before, because sometimes it has run its course, and we
mhm,
have to be honest with ourselves about that. And I'll tell you, that's one of the hardest things to do, and that brings about a great sense of being overwhelmed, because when something has run its course and you're not ready to leave it, or you don't know what's next, it's hard to step out on faith. It's hard
Mhm.
to walk into a clouded room and not be able to see what step is next.
wow.
That's
And
powerful.
so it's about, again, trusting who we say we trust. I know some people believe in manifestations and all these other things. But I believe in Jesus Christ, and I believe in the promises of Him. And if I
Mm,
trust what He says about my life, when this chapter has closed, when this chapter is over, I have to be brave enough to step out on a step that I cannot see.
mhm. Walking into the fog, the favor of God. It ain't gonna always be easy, but it's
And
gonna
people won't
always be
always
worth it.
understand.
Mhm,
People won't always understand. I've had a season, I've been in a season where things have shifted. When I say they have shifted in my life so quickly, you know, I woke up one morning and I clearly heard God to tell me to do A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And I was like, really? Okay, how am I going to do that? And the more I resisted, the more overwhelmed I felt.
hold on. This is
Mhm.
good. Okay, wait a minute. Let's pause. So, in this moment, what you're saying is your overwhelm came because you didn't listen to the voice of God.
Absolutely. I heard it, and I heard it more than once say the same thing to me. And because in my natural mind, it didn't make sense to me, I was like, no, that can't be so. But it was so. And because I was not listening and following the directions that he gave me, I was not allowing him to order my steps. I was becoming more and more overwhelmed and frustrated.
Mm. Something else you said, which I think deserves just like its own space. We could get overwhelmed when we have unmet needs. When we're in a place where we our needs are not being met, we become frustrated and overwhelmed is like the next thing that happens after that frustration happens. Is there an indicator where we can say, okay, well, my needs are not being met, and if I do not allow um my needs to be met, I'm going to stay feeling overwhelmed.
You know you. That's
Mhm.
that part. That's the part of it when I say you have to be honest with yourself.
Hmm.
Because a lot of times we want other people or jobs or people on our jobs to behave like us, but we are us.
Hmm.
We are us, and we can only be us, and they are going to be them.
Mm.
But if there's something that you specifically need in your life and those people that are in your circle are not meeting that need, you can always have a conversation with them if it's important enough to you.
Mm.
Yeah.
So you have to weigh the value of it. You
Yeah.
have to weigh the value of it. For example, if you are at a job that you've been at, I would say maybe 10, 15 years, you love the job. However, it's not meeting the need, or you feel like you've outgrown the position. So you weigh out the fact whether or not you need to talk to your management, if there's value in having that conversation with your management, or if it's more valuable for you to start looking elsewhere. But many times we don't do that. What we do is we stay frustrated, and then we become bitter, and then we start not looking like our father. We start looking like everybody but that's because we've become overwhelmed with an unmet need, because maybe we feel like on this particular job that at this point we should be at this place. However, we're not getting at that place. So then we have to decide, we have to weigh the value. Same things with relationships. Maybe you're in a relationship with somebody and you want A, B, C, D, E, F, G. You have to weigh out how realistic are the things that you want. How valuable, how important are they to you? How important or valuable is the person you're in the relationship with? If they are valuable and important to you, then it's worth having a conversation about. And if you can't get what you need from the relationship from that person, it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make that person a bad person. It just means that at this point in time, this is as far as you can go. But if you need more, you should say what you need and give that person a chance to honor that need, or tell you that they can't honor that need. Frustration and feeling overwhelmed, it comes about a lot of times from unspoken needs,
Mhm.
unspoken desires. And we think somebody should be able to, I guess, read our minds sometimes.
Mhm.
But we need to say what we need. And we need to give those people in our lives a chance to either meet the need or tell you they cannot meet the need. Does that make sense?
It does.
It does.
And you hit on the point of, like Kawana said in the chat, communication. Some people don't know how to relay their message when it comes to talking about those tough conversations that Andrea is trying to address and get others to address. So we're talking about relationships, we're talking about self assessment, whether it's through your job or whatever the case may be. But speak to those people who do not know how to communicate, because that is the biggest picture. Because if they don't know how to communicate, so they can move from good to better, it's never going to work, you know.
And
What about
Fabiana, it's so interesting because I see a lot, I deal with a lot, I hear people a lot, and I see there are a lot of children in adult bodies. And what I mean by that is they've not learned how to communicate how they feel, and they feel inadequate
mm,
doing it. It doesn't feel
yeah,
normal for them because they were never taught to do that as children.
Mhm.
And because
right.
they grew up not being able to properly express themselves, sometimes they unintentionally hurt the people that they love because they don't
Mm,
have the skill set they need to properly discuss what they feel and how they feel about the person. And that in a sense makes them feel overwhelmed and frustrated because they don't have the skill set they need to
Mhm.
properly talk about what they
Mhm.
want and how they feel as well.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
and do you think it's not that they can't communicate, it's just that they can't communicate effectively? Because
Right, right.
Mhm.
because
And you have to think about it. What you say, Andrea?
so you go ahead.
I say you have to think about it. We meet people out from all walks of life. We don't ever know what they've gone through, and especially the early part of their life. And we bring whatever that is, whatever environment, whatever experiences, whatever, we bring that to the table every day of our lives, depending on what we learned when we were growing up or what we didn't learn, depending on what we got and what we were deficient in. A lot of times that guides how we deal with situations and with people. And if I grew up and I was shown a lot of love and respect, and how I learned to honor my parents, and I had my dad in my home, then and my dad was there, he taught me how to love because he loved me openly. And then I meet somebody that had a totally different life experience from me growing up, where maybe they didn't have parents that taught to them, then I'm frustrated because I feel like they don't love me or see me the way that I see them, where they're working from the skill set that they have. And so that's why communication is so important in all phases, but especially when you're overwhelmed. And if you're not quite ready to have those conversations, if you're not quite ready to verbalize those conversations, I'm the queen of journaling. That's what I tell my friends, call me that because I've been journaling since um probably since I was in college. And so that gives you a great place to lay out your feelings, to lay it out. Gives you that practice pad, is what I say, to write it down and kind of process it through your journal writing before you get ready to express it. So it gives you, a little wiggle room before you get ready to put that out there. But when you're feeling overwhelmed and you're feeling frustrated, you need to express those things, share how you feel, surround yourself with people who support you and understand you and will try to help you through what you're dealing with. And those things and those people that are leading you or a part of that journey that has led you to being overwhelmed. Sometimes you just have to take a step back so you can get a better picture or a better view as to how to deal with them properly. Because most of the time, I'm going to tell you something, it's really hard to overwhelm somebody that you don't care about, or a situation that you don't care about. You're overwhelmed because you care about the situation or you care about the person. And when that is the case, then you care. So you want to handle those people with the care that you have for them. Or if it's a job, you care about it. You don't become overwhelmed by things you don't care nothing about. And it's
Very
important to acknowledge that, or understand that when you're overwhelmed about situations, people, or things, these are things that you care about. That's the first indication that you care about them. And if you care about them, then you need to handle them with care. And that starts with you. You to handle you with care, and anybody that's connected to that situation with care. Even if you need to step away, even if you need to step away, you need to be honest with yourself and the people involved. And you say, I need to step away because I'm processing what it is I really need. I realize that my needs are unmet. And it may be me or it may be you, but I need to take a moment to reassess the situation so I can see how to move forward from that.
And this is all under designing our idea for the seasons for the future. It all comes under that structure, because we want a better future. So we have to address all the issues, all the things that we don't have right now. So we have these tough conversations. We learn how to communicate. We assess ourselves. We pray to God for wisdom, and we move forward. So, what are the qualities We're going to talk among ourselves. What are the qualities that we want to experience in 2023? I'm going to start with myself. My qualities is my first one is being disciplined. I need to be disciplined enough to do what you talked about earlier, what God has told me to do, because my life is not flowing the way it needs to flow. It's not. I mean, from jobs to my housing situation, it's not lining up because I'm not being obedient to what God told me to do. So I want to be disciplined enough, and I have to be transparent because I'm a woman of God and we are a testimony to others. And they need to see that once you start doing and getting in alignment, as Coach Kim always say, everything has to be in alignment. Our spirit, our bodies, our minds, once we get in alignment, it will start flowing because we are taught when we are training to swim that if we go with the current, we can survive. When we go against the current, I'm sorry, in swimming lessons, it's hard for us to survive. But when we go with the current, it flows easier. So once we become obedient to what God is telling us to do and become disciplined to what He has called us to do, then life will go smooth. So my point is discipline has to be a major part of all of our lives. But me, that's the number one thing that I'm requiring for myself.
I like it. I like it. I like it. Because you heard me say at the very beginning, God told me, He point blank told me, and I was not being obedient. And the
Mm,
more I tried to resist it, the more frustrating life became for me. So it is about obedience and then honoring who you want to be. A part of honoring yourself is being disciplined so that you can be or achieve the things that you want to achieve. When I think about 2023, I think about this right here. I think about how my life is so different than it was just a year ago. Like all 2022, I've been moving differently. And
mm,
Andrea and Kawana, they know it. I've been moving differently all 2022, and it's been real confusing for people in my life. I mean, real confusing. And so much so, that my father, he asked me about it, and I told him, I said, I'm moving differently because God has called me to move differently. He said, oh, okay. But when I think about 2023 and what I'm doing now in relations to moving forward and moving differently, what that means for me is in 2023, I'm going to stand in the full power of being me,
that's good.
and I'm going to take up a lot of space.
That's
And
good.
I'm going to take up a lot of space in my natural gifts.
That's
And
good.
Amen.
in the past, I've been pushed that way. I've been taught to about that way. It's wild. I've had people to stop and tell me that God told them, people that don't know me. And
Mm,
I'm like, okay, you just walk up to me and tell me stuff. But in 2023, I'm gonna stand in the full power of being me. So I'm gonna take up a lot of space in my natural gifts.
I love that. I
Amen.
Mm-hmm.
I love
Absolutely.
love 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 that. I believe for me in 2023 there is going to come another level of consistency in taking care of my health. I am I remember watching a video from my mom, and I watch it all the time whenever I need to hear her voice. And she said, I'm so proud of Andrea. She's taking care of a lot of her health things today. We're at the VA hospital. I just wanted to let you guys know that I'm so proud of her.
Oh,
And like as I watch the video, like here now, it warms my heart because we always want to make our parents proud, but I want to make me proud too. And I know that the things that I want to be most proud of for myself is that I take care of me. And that's starting with my health.
I love that too. For all of you guys. For 2023, for myself, I was talking with a friend, and Andrea and I, we were taught to walk in divine health. And somewhere along the lines here lately, I don't want to say I lost that. I'll say I lost some disciplines in some areas when it comes to that. Also, when it comes to my faith and walking in the gift of faith. And so those are two things that I want to concentrate on going into 2023. Getting back to the place of walking in divine health, taking care of me. I'm naturally a caregiver. That's how I'm wired. I've always taken care of others, and a lot of times I have neglected myself. So I have learned to take some time and just do some things for me and take some time for me. But like I said, just getting back to walking in divine health, building back up my most holy faith, um, you know, just things in that arena. I spoke to a good sister of mine. I think she's in the comments, and we were talking, and ordered some books that I had lost from, years ago when we first were all in Life Christian University together. And so just brushing back up on that, getting back to where I belong, walking in some things. People see things in you first before you see them in yourself. And I just thank God for the divine relationships that I have that are pushing me to my destiny. So I'm just excited about that for 2023.
Awesome. Amen. Such a blessing. We're going to go into the next question, but I think everybody is on the right track because we realize that God is the head of all things. He created us, and I think I posted this a couple of days ago. If He designed us to be over the earth, what are we worrying about? He created us to be over everything. And here we have health issues, mental health issues, when He's aligned and outlined everything that we need to do. But do we hear God or do we ignore God? Because sometimes we question, oh, is this God speaking? And you know it's God. So do we hear God or are we just ignoring God? Are we fearful of what He's telling us to do? So, okay. The tradition, what is the most important element for the holiday season for each one of you?
Muted.
I know for me, the holidays can be overwhelming just in just in a sense of it being the holidays and
Mm-hmm.
the expectation of gifts and families and family gatherings. For me, my number one thing is taking care of me. Now, I love my people, and as
Mm-hmm.
Kawana was saying a minute ago, naturally, I've been taking care of people all of my life, but during the holiday season, and I said that Thanksgiving starts the season.
Mm-hmm.
During
Mm-hmm.
this season, I make real sure that I take care of me because it's so easy to really, really get caught up in being here and there, the hustle and the bustle of Thanksgiving, Christmas, travel, family gatherings, gifts, this, that. I make sure I take care of me. And one of the things that I do in this season is I make sure I sure up my boundaries. I sure up my boundaries because in this season, in this Thanksgiving, Christmas season, people will push you to the limit. And so For me, I have to already know what my boundaries are and just stick with them in a kind and loving way and just take time to breathe and take care of me during this holiday season. I will spend time with my family, but I also make sure that I carve out time to do some of the things that I really love to do. Like I love to read. The holiday season is one of my favorite times. So I carve out time where I can read. I like to read multiple books at one time. I have a new hobby, so I like to go play pickleball. So I carve out time for me during the holiday season where in the past, it's just family, family, family. What do you want to do?
Mhm.
They run here, run there. Come take me here. Come take me there. Can you cook this food for me? Will you make this? I told Miss Susie you make 10 pies for her. So now I have, I sure up, yeah, yeah. Somebody told them I could cook. So now it's become, but I
Mhm.
sure up my boundaries. I love my family. I love my friends, but I've learned to say, "This is all that I can do on this day," instead of just going, going,
Mhm.
going, going, because I would go from morning to night. And the holiday is supposed to be a time where you enjoy your family and friends, a time of peace. I would say peace, prosperity, calmness, and joy.
Mhm.
But sometimes it just gets wild. And so I've learned to shore up my boundaries for the holidays and make sure I have a plan to take care of myself as much as I do for others. I need to do that for myself as well.
Okay, now what's pickleball now?
So Cree describes it as if tennis and ping pong had a baby, it would be pickleball, but it's played on a court. It's very similar to tennis, but you play with a smaller racket and a waffle ball, but it's on a like a tennis court.
Okay, 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 I got you. I think for
Mhm.
me, one of the greatest feelings is like after everyone has ate and we're just sitting down and either there's like the rustle and bustle still in the house a little bit, but it's like everything just calms down. It's like I don't know, but it's something about the peace after we eat. And I think I do like to eat and I do like the feeling after I eat, especially on Christmas and Thanksgiving. Um
Mhm.
so that's what I for me.
That's interesting. I'm always exhausted. Like I normally for Thanksgiving, and that's why I have to share my boundaries. For
Mm.
Thanksgiving, so I started, my mother and I cooked together. So I cooked Wednesday, Wednesday night, Thursday morning, all in, and then we set everything up. We did everything, okay? Everything. And then everybody eats, and then we eat just a little because of course we've been cooking and smelling the food, and I know like if you cook then sometimes you just can't eat a lot then.
Mhm.
And then
Mhm.
everybody eats and they're relaxing, but we're exhausted. We're exhausted, and if we don't watch it when we want to eat for real, and that's like when people have finally left, there's very little for us to eat. So we we have to share up our boundaries. Okay, we're like, this is all we're gonna do. We're gonna start at this time. You must leave food for us to eat later, for my mom and I to eat later. If we've cooked the food, we should have something to eat. So that's what I mean, like little stuff like that. Cause I love being with my family. I mean, cause I've told y'all before, they're like my plug. They
Yes,
energize me when I feel like
I
I've
remember.
had enough, but
Yeah.
they also make me tired too. So
Mhm.
yeah.
What you say, your plug and your energizer?
I love them. I mean, I don't know what family is like for y'all, and I know the holidays can be hard, especially when you've lost a parent or siblings or nieces or however it may be. But even so, because we've had a great amount of loss in my family in the last couple of years, but even so, with those losses, it has pulled us closer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And with the hustle and bustle of life, and even going back to feeling overwhelmed, it's just really nice to be with them because we can just really just be. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the important things to remember is that family is family. You can just be with them.
You can
You
be.
can just be.
You
You
can be.
know who's gonna bring the potato pie, you know who's gonna have the crazy conversation, but that should be a place of comfort. And if
Mhm.
Mhm.
it's not, then you have to assess how you're going to navigate those waters. I would never tell somebody to navigate those waters if those waters made them feel overwhelmed every time they went to went to take part in those events. I would
Mhm.
say assess that and see if that's something you really need to do.
Mhm.
Or schedule time. I know for me, when I was younger, when I was cooking a lot with my mom, which I don't do that anymore, Wednesday and Thursday cooking. Thank God for that. Hallelujah. Um, but but when I used to do it, I used to set aside, and they knew at this time Drea was not gonna be here no more. They knew there was a window of time, and that was my boundary. Now, did they like it? No. Did they respect it? Yes, because they would even tell, well, Drea about to leave, so we better hurry up and do this. Well, she about to go. Because I had to have my boundary set and made. And initially I didn't even know I was doing it until they used to tell me about it. It was like just something that just came natural for me. And I just thank God for that. But I'm gonna let you guys go next.
So for me, it's kind of similar to what Nikita was saying. In years past, it would be an overwhelming experience. I loved it, as far as the fellowship and family. But my God, the cooking and the cooking would, you know, start early and go into the wee hours of the night, and there would be no sleep. So I don't miss that because it's no longer that. Um, Now I'm just to the point where if I need to cater it in, I will cater the meal, or I will cater parts of the meal, and this is what I'm gonna do. And if you don't want it catered, then by all means you can cook it. But yeah, the fellowship, I enjoy the fellowship. My family, I've had a lot of loss, so it's not like it used to be, but
Mhm.
it's still good. It's still good with what I do have, and so I do enjoy that. Hmm.
Mine is family as well. And being that I moved away from home 7 years ago, 2015, I moved away from home, and all of us are like 2 acres apart. And when I was back home, when I cook, I will cook for 3 and 4 houses. So I missed that now that I had to dwindle down to just cooking for 3 to 5 people. Cooking for that many houses every other day was good for me because that's what I love doing. I love being a host. I love letting people try new things that I like to try. I love preparing new ideas, and I just love people being around. I love fellowshipping. And so now that the holidays are here, and now that I've lost my uncle, who was very important to me in 2013, and then I lost my mom last year, family is kind of like everything to me. So we're hosting Christmas in Charlotte this year. And so we're trying to get this big Airbnb, and I will be the first one to be up 6 o'clock in the morning because I'm not the one to say I'm going to cook something at night and leave it on the stove. I like my food fresh. I'm very peculiar. I like it fresh, and I like the people to eat the food fresh and not just sit up somewhere all day. So family is real big, especially this year. I'm really looking forward to all my first cousins and their children getting together, and the older generations that still left. I'm really looking forward to that because I love loving on people.
Well,
Okay, let's do the last question and then we'll close out.
so our last question is, what support do you need, or do we need as an individual?
For me, the support that I need, um, matter of fact, before I got on here, somebody was asking me, what do I need? And my initial response was, I don't need anything. But then I was like, you know what? I really, really, now I didn't tell them this, but I'm telling y'all this. I really, really need compassion. I need vulnerability in the times when I'm vulnerable, and I need listening ears and helpful hearts. Um, I need accountability without judgment. I need love unconditional, and I need the support that I everything that I said that I need the support to be accountable and say, Dre, you need this. So this is why I'm giving it to you.
That's good. Um, for me, I think we've talked about this before, being prideful, not asking for help. I'm transitioning. Andrea is helping me transition. But support is just number one, probably a listening ear. Um, and I'm unbothered about what I'm about to say. I have four sisters, and I talk to no one. And it kind of hurt, because one of my sisters that I grew up with, that my mom raised, I haven't heard from her since my mom passed, didn't show up for the funeral, anything. So, a listening ear, a sister to hug, you know, that's a big thing for me as far as support.
Um, hmm, I would say a listening ear, um, an unconditional listening ear. Um, Support is another thing that has been hard for me to ask for, but I'm doing better in that area. I'm not where I want to be, but I do believe that I'm doing better. Um, the listening ear to listen, to understand, and also not necessarily listening to really having a response, but just to listen and let that soak in before, and then being allowed to get, whatever I may need to talk about out without being interrupted. Um, to be loved unconditionally. I know, like we discussed earlier, everybody is raised differently. So, no, I don't expect people to love the way that I do, or I don't expect them to be me. But at the same time, um, hmm, most times, I can't say all the time, but most times when, a person come to me, I listen. And then I try to figure out, okay, do they want me to listen just to listen and to have a listening ear? Because sometimes that's all people need, or that's
Mhm.
all we need. And then sometimes we need someone to listen to help us figure something out, or to help us come up with a solution. And yes, I do know we pray and we go to the Lord for our answers, and the Holy Spirit gives us that. But He also gives us people and therapists. I will say that too. Um, so yes, I get all of that. I get all of that. But it's sometimes it's good to have that person or people or a person in your circle that you can just really be you with without judgment. Um, and they will love you and they won't switch up on you. So those things, like I said earlier, the holidays for me is different because my family is a lot smaller now. So I don't really get to experience these big gatherings like in times past. So just the simple things. Just the simple things to be around people. I am a yes, I'm introverted, but I am a people person. Um yes, once I get a good feel of people, usually at the end of the night or when it's over and everybody's gone, I'm pooped. But I love people. So, yeah, that part. That part.
I like it. I
Mhm.
like it. Hmm, here's what I need. I need I need people to just check on me without wanting something from me. And let me explain myself. I somehow I've become that go-to person. And so I have my family calls me about any and everything. And then they will also give you my number and be like, hey, call Nick, she may be able to help you with that. And then and I do not mind helping people. My grandmother told me when I was a kid that was going to be what I was going to do in the body of Christ. She told me that. And I was probably 15 when she told me, you're gonna be a helper. I didn't know what that meant, but she is clearly correct to the extent of people inbox me on Facebook that I don't know, and they will say, I
Mhm.
know Sally, who you worked with 10 years ago, and she knows so and so, and they told me to inbox you because this, that, or whatever. And so I do a lot of that for people, which I don't mind. However, my cup gets empty. And so sometimes I just want my people to call me and be like, "Hey, how you doing?" And like for real, don't want nothing. I don't have to have like traditional gifts. The gift of concern for me is a big gift for me. It just to say, "Oh, well, I was just calling to check in on you. I didn't want anything particular." Or, Nikki, you want to go and have dinner or meet for brunch? I know we don't ever get to do that, but just having my people to just check on me just because, and not particularly need anything in that moment. But then they can call me back and tell me what they need at another time. But sometimes just letting it really be about seeing if I need anything, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
I um
Makes sense.
I have a sister and two brothers, and all my siblings have children
Mine's too.
and spouses except me, and
Mhm.
I'm okay with that. I have no issue with it with it at all. But with the hustle and bustle of life and them having some of my siblings have young kids, some of my siblings have grown kids. So it's different. They call about different stuff, about this, that, and whatever. But sometimes I just tell them, hey, You called me last month and last week and the week before that to ask me about this, and that. I need you to just call and just check on me and and not want nothing. And they laugh. They laugh sometimes. And I said that to y'all because sometimes we think our loved ones know what we need, but they don't.
Mhm. Mhm.
And they're keeping the status quo of what we've done forever. And we are guilty of not saying what we need from them for fear of rejection, or we just think they should know, because that's what I hear. Well, they should already know that. Well, then
Mhm.
maybe they do know, but life gets kind of chaotic and it kind of just kind of falls to the wayside. You ever feel like sometimes you're like, I'm gonna call and check on Andrea when I get off work. But it doesn't happen because you get off work and then life starts lifing. Somebody tell you, you got to go pick up John. You got something happens at the house,
Mhm.
and then you don't get to call Andrea. So sometimes we just have to say, especially, I heard Fabiana say something about her siblings, and my siblings are everywhere. We all live in different states. And sometimes I have to remind them, hey, I'm a team of one. Y'all need to check on me because they are a team of people. I am a
Mhm.
team of one in relations to them. And
Mhm.
my oldest brother, he would say, you know what, you're right. We tend to look at you as always having it together, not really needing anything. And I said to him, I do for the most part have it together, but I will always need you all. I always need y'all. And I always need y'all to check on me and see about me. And sometimes we need to share that vulnerability with those people that we love, that even though we are probably considered to be the movers, the shakers, the most independent, but we need each other. And I
Mhm.
tell my siblings that, no, I need you. My
Yes.
nieces, my nephews, I need y'all to call and check on me because sometimes I just want to hear your voice.
Yeah.
And me saying that has really changed the trajectory of a lot of our relationships because
Yeah.
they make a lot of assumptions about what they think we need because we're
Mhm.
out here on our own and we're making moves. So
Mhm.
that's what I need. I just need them to check on me.
I love that.
Mhm.
I think wrap up this session, which I am so happy that we were able to close out this season and this time with Dr. Nickeda Shelton. I cannot say thank you enough for her wisdom,
Mhm.
her just her sincere transparency, and how she could say something in passing and it just helps. It really helps. Um, as you go into this season, as you go into the holidays, and like she said, it's kind of already started at Thanksgiving, but as you continue to go into it, when you start feeling overwhelmed, take a step back, breathe. And I like to do several breaths before I do anything. Breathe and breathe again and breathe again and breathe again and breathe in and breathe out. My sister used to do this with me. She used to breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. And until my heart rate was at a place where it was steady, then I would go into prayer and then I would assess what has me feeling overwhelmed. But taking those breaths before you do anything is going to clear your pathways. It calms your spirit and it relinquishing you from not going into anxiety. Because a lot of times during this time, anxiety can be very high because of you feeling overwhelmed. And the one thing that we don't want you to do is walk into the doors of anxiety. We want you to walk into the doors of abundance, peace, love, joy, self care,
Amen.
Absolutely.
power, faith, guidance by God. Those are the doors that we want you to walk into. And as we're on our hiatus, our break, I want you to remember, don't stop having the tough conversations. You're one conversation away from living the life of your dreams. Have an amazing, amazing night. Bye bye.